The Kangaveli tank bed is being cultivated by force by some young persons from the majority community. Is there no law and order in this country? Is this the way you want to bring about reconciliation? Is this the way you want to bring about goodwill and harmony? I tabled the letter, sir, the second letter, which I have sent to the President on the 29th of May 2010, and I request that you direct that the letter to be included at the end of my speech in the Hansard. I will not refer to everything that's happening because I will have to probably speak till midnight if I do that, but maybe some of my other friends who will speak after me will make reference to one or two other, some of the matters. But I would refer to just one other thing. Several villages in Movie2, Pudumathalan, Mullikaival West, Mullivaikal West, Mullivaikal East, Ambalavan Pokkana, Valanjar Madam, Anandapuram, Keppa Pulavu, all these are coastal areas where people have been living for generations and fishing and carrying on their living there. Now, some people there have different ideas about that territory. They've been asked to go to a place called Kombaville, 7 to 8 kilometers away from the sea. How can a fisherman live 7 to 8 kilometers away from the sea, sir? Can he carry on his occupation by living 7 to 8 kilometers away from the sea? They've been compelled to go. They have been told, you will have to go. You can't say no. You have no choice in the matter. We have chosen a place for you, and their land is being taken over, and they are being sent there. And I'm told that steps are being taken to settle fisher folk from the majority community in this area. How can you permit this type of thing? Are you going to bring about harmony in this country by doing this type of thing? These are the questions we want to ask you. And if you think that by this type of action and formulating some action plan and trying to show the world that you are doing something, while you are not really not doing anything proper in regard to what has happened, new things are happening which are creating further disharmony and further room for conflict and further ill will amongst people, then I'm sorry, we are not getting about things the right way. All this indicates that there are deliberate efforts by some people to change the demographic composition of some areas in the north and the east, change the linguistic, religious, and cultural identity of areas in the north and the east. And these activities are being pursued with a vigor that is suggestive of a determination to make these things a fait accompli before too long. Before you think in terms of any political solution or arrive at any political solution, the demographic composition of the north and the east would have been so altered, and the linguistic, cultural, and religious identity of certain areas would have been so altered that there will be no conflict, no need for a political solution. Is that the agenda you're pursuing? We want to know. I mean, either you must stop these things, or you must say that these things are not happening. You can come with us and we'll show you these things happening. So you must reverse it and put it right, or you must accept that you are having an agenda which is being implemented. I'm not saying every one of you, but certainly we are inclined to the view that there are at least some within the government with whose blessings these things are being done, and that these things cannot be done in this way if there are no blessings whatever from at least someone within the government. Reconciliation is dependent not merely on implementation of recommendations of the LRRC, but also on terminating and reversing actions which have been disproved and censured by the LLRC. Repetition of similar actions would be tantamount to making a mockery of the LLRC recommendations. LLRC is recommending some remedial action in regard to what happened in the past. You are going on with vigor, repeating the same actions, multiplying your past actions with the purpose of taking control. I mean, can you permit this to happen? That will only revive the causes of the disaffection and the conflict and will not bring about any goodwill and harmony amongst the people. Of course, you are now trying to recommend the LLRC recommendations. We also know that the interim recommendations of the LLRC were not implemented at the time the LLRC came up with their final report, and that in their final report, LLRC commented about the fact that the interim recommendations were not implemented. I would like to say a few words on the question of a political solution, because that has also been referred to by the LLRC in its report. And we hear much talk about a homegrown solution. Undoubtedly, a homegrown solution would be the best thing. But at the same time, talk of a homegrown solution should not become an excuse for not finding a solution. I shall demonstrate that efforts at evolving a homegrown solution have been numerous in the past. The Bandaranagar-Chilmanagam Pact, it was not grown in Norway or in India, it was grown in Sri Lanka. The Daddisananagar-Chilmanagam Pact, that was very much a homegrown product. The 13th Amendment to the Constitution, entirely homegrown and homemade. Extensive discussions took place within the Sri Lankan government and the TULF, representing the Tamil people, in July and August 1986. We talked for at least 15 days each month. On the government side, there was President Jayawardena, there was Minister Ronnie Dimel, Minister Athurat Pudiri, Minister Gamini Disnaka, Honorable Ranil Wickremesinghe, ACS Hamid, KW Devanagam. On the government side. And on the TULF side, there was Amarthalingam, there was Sivasudambram, there was Neelan Sirichelvam, there was Anand Sangri, there was Yogeswaran, there was Joseph Pararajasingham, and there was myself. We discussed 9 drafts. In July and August 1986, Mr. Felix Dias Abesinghe, retired Commissioner of Elections, was the secretary of that committee. The papers must be available in the Presidential Secretariat or somewhere in some office. So that was also a homegrown solution. It had the approval of the Supreme Court of Sri Lanka. It had the approval of the legislature of this country. It was passed by a 2/3 majority. How can you say it's not homegrown? It was homegrown. Very much a product of this country and efforts by people in this country. Of course, in the post-July 1983 period, after the riots in July 83, Sri Lanka accepted India's good offices to resolve the conflict amicably. India's good offices have continued. India is our closest neighbor, not merely geographically, culturally. The Indo-Sri Lanka Agreement of 29 July 1987 was a part of that process. Of course, our discussions in regard to the 13th Amendment preceded the Indo-Sri Lanka Agreement. And the Indo-Sri Lanka Agreement being signed does not make the 13th Amendment any less a homegrown solution. The 13th Amendment was the outcome of discussions that took place between the government of Sri Lanka and the TULF, the party that represented the Tamil people. The TULF had strong reservations about the 13th Amendment. After all, the 13th Amendment was eventually formulated by the Sri Lankan government, not by both sides. And our reservations continue. And we have been clamoring for improvements to the 13th Amendment, reformulation of the 13th Amendment, so as to make the solution more acceptable. The international community has played a role. India has played a role to bring about